Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today, it's the start of making doors for my razor that's behind me. Unfortunately, when I bought it, I didn't have the nets, and so in the province of Quebec, I need doors, or at least something that looks like a door. And doors are about 500 bucks. So why, or higher? So I'm going to fabricate myself a set of doors, half doors, and the only thing I actually bought is from Pro Armor is these latches. Yes, they're for the rear. I made a mistake. I should have got the front one, but cardboard, bit of steel. I can modify these wrong latches to actually work. And then all I gotta do is buy some tubing. Hopefully with the COVID restrictions, I'll be able to buy some tubing. Cross my fingers. Otherwise, this video is going to take forever. Or this fabrication video build, whatever, is going to take forever to build. So I'm going to sign off now because I'm going to work on some plates, and I'll bring you along once I have the plates mocked up, and we'll go from there. Thanks for watching. Well, after a couple of hours of thinking, using some tape, this is what I came up with. It's about 10 feet of tubing. We use 1.5 inch tubing, basically the same size as this. Top beam, bottom beam, and some triangulation. And my lock is going to be on top. And I had to fabricate this bar. It's right now it's just put on with C-clamps, but that's basically how it's going to look. Took a couple hours to figure out what would be the best pattern, but that's what it's going to look like. It's going to still open concept, but at least I'll have a door. Make some hinges down here, up one here and one there. It'll be good. Next time, hopefully, I'll have some metal. We'll go check that out tomorrow. Bye. Okay, a little update. I got my metal yesterday, and I started working on the passenger side door. I put a piece of aluminum to simulate the spacing that I'm going to have once I have my hinges on. Got one tube notch by hand, by the way. I may film one or two later on. This is my top beam to the latch. I ended up having a bumper here because where's my bolts? These still have to work on these, but this is basically going to work something like this. I have to add a shim for that so I can move it in and out, but that's basically how it's going to be. The next part, basically, I'm going to down tube here and then down tube and a cross beam to here to there. So the next tube I'm working on is this tube there to there. Give you an idea what it's going to look like. It's going to be something like this. That notch is almost perfect. Well, not perfect, but I'm going to have to work on it, but give you a better general idea. And it's going to come to here. Once I have that, then I'll go something like this. But yeah, something like that. It's going to end up looking like this when it's done. That's the outside perimeter, and I may put one something like this, just for fun. But now the next piece is this one. So that's the update for now. Enjoy. So I don't have a tube notcher, but there's all kinds of these programs online. Like this is from Block Layer. I'll put a link into it anyway. But basically, you put in your parent tube's diameter. I have 1 1/4. The tube that I need to cut 1 1/4 diameter 0.1, and the angle. Then I press calculate, and this is what it gives us. Right, it gives us this angle. It actually shows us on a nice diagram. Then you print it, and what you get out of the printer is this. So you cut it out. Whoops, it's on backwards. Upside down, sorry. So you get this. You cut it to size, follow the line. Wait. And then you basically, this is what you get. It's not a perfect fit, but like now I need to do some filing. But I guess for the amount of money I paid for that tube notcher or that program, it's good. And I'll just put some wire, feed it. Saves me a lot of hassles. One for the internet, once again. So here we go, folks. This is the passenger side prototype. It's not finished. I still need to make some cuts, some plugs, and everything's just still tack welded. Okay, first things that I gotta do is I gotta tape up where this area here, so that when I do put my tube, when I do the dry fits, which I'm going to do shortly with the templated one, it doesn't scratch my bodywork. Yeah, it's still a side-by-side. Should be able to handle some, how do we call it, some abuse, but why? When we can just put some tape, which is cheap, and we go from there. I'm also going to put my spacer, which is going to simulate this gap that I'm going to use for my still in the mail hinges, my weld-on hinges. Might just bite the bullet and find another shop. I'm going to have to find another shop that sells nuts and bolts around here. I did find one yesterday, but they don't take credit card or we call it debit unless it's an order of 75 bucks or more. So that's that for now. Now I'm going to dry fit the piece that I did on the other side. I know it's going to be, I'm going to have to take that off, because knowing that this is in the wrong place already, knowing that it's too low, which is not an overly big deal. But this is so that I make sure that the dimensions are good. And they are. So we're good. Actually, this will go up a bit with something like that. Yeah, that makes more sense. Yeah, because I'm missing this piece that I put there, like so, something like that. Here we go. So that works. Yeah, that should be good. I don't know why that's a little higher, but I'll figure that out. That's it, really, folks. Now I'm going to cut some metal. And once I start getting to the notching, I'll bring it back. So we're going to work on this part, which is basically this part. Whoop, can't see it, but it's basically the shim that's going to go on the tube. I'll simulate it. Here we go. Let's pretend this is my top tube. This is go on top. And this is the nut for the pin that holds the door closed. So I'm going to clean that up a wee tad using some basic hand tools. File. It's awfully small, so it's going to be a lot of jiggling in the file and the vise. Shouldn't be too over. I don't think I need to get too carried away, because there's going to be a lot of welds around it. But shake, shake, shake. Well, that's basically it. So the next part is to take one of these nuts off. Put it on top, like so, and use this humongous 50mm or 2-inch C-clamp. Open it up enough so that it'll go between these two. So when I do weld, I have a strong connection. Put C-clamp. Oh, just put it where you guys can actually see this. Put C-clamp in vise. Put nut and half tube in C-clamp and tighten. Now I'm just going to make sure it's centered. Loosen it off a bit. Eyeball it, should be good enough. And we're good. Tighten that up. Now it's easy. Zap that there. And attack there. And we're good. That's it. You've seen me weld enough, so I'm going to say goodbye for now. Okay, so I got the top tube cut, the 45 and the 90 degree here. That's fine. It's at the 34 3/4 length. I cut that one to size. Now I'm going to start cutting these that have some miter joints. And because I have a miter joint, right, so this is 7.5 long from this tip right here to here. I've measured it to, it's 7.5 on this piece, and I'm going to go to 7 3/4 to give me a 1/4 inch of extra space in case, and not in case, but because I'm going to miter this and it's being mitered by hand, I'm going to give myself some extra material so I don't waste a piece. And as you can see, I can always cut it off after. My plan anyway is to cut it somewhat like this anyway, to match this angle like this, and then cap it. So not overly a big deal. And it's the same thing for this piece right here, right? Once I have it welded, I can always cut it down and trim it down, but I needed some welding space. The only piece that's going to be cut to size is going to be this one, because I don't have a choice. But regardless, even this piece, I can always cheat a bit by sliding it in a bit more, because this gets narrower if I grind it down too much, right? It's not aircraft quality. It's close, like hand grenades and whatever, but it's not even close. Not close at all. As you can see, my gaps, I wouldn't even, these gaps are ridiculously too big for anyway, even for a roll cage. But I'm an amateur, but if you look at this though, this is pretty good, I think, and it gives me that nice lip so I can get some good welds in there. So so far so good. So I'm not really sure if you can see it, but how I get my center line, which is this one, not the one that went too fast, but I just use a black marker, and instead of putting that paint, then I just use my speed square, which is just lay it on like so, and then I just use my pick and create a nice straight line. Of course it helps when I use my two hands. So that line is in order to get my template, which I'll show you after, in the proper location. So next piece of the video was going to be me taping the template so I can cut my 45 on this side. So hurry up and wait. Okay, so I have my tube with my center line. As you can see, the template has a center line, but also these are good center lines too. And in this case, it's a 45. I don't have to worry basically where I had it, but if I had to make two miter cuts, this center line would be really important. So all I do is I lay my piece of paper on my center line, like so. Take some pre-cut electrical tape, which is red, and hopefully, because I got it right on the line, when I turn it around, it should come flush, and it does, or close enough. So we'll tape that up again, and voila. So what I do now is I cut this piece out. I just cut this piece out because the rest is pretty well much that. So in order to cut that, what I'll do is I'll take my reciprocating saw and I'll just cut an angle like so, and hopefully not grab the paper, and then I'll come back with the grinder using the flat disc to follow the line more closely, and I'll have my 45. That's it. So I cut it, and you can see the paper and the cut are quite different. I'll just, like I said, I'll use my flat disc grinder and I'll grind this down here. Okay, as you can see, with the with the hacksaw, in this case I use a reciprocating saw. I left some material, so I'll just use the grinder with a flat disc and grind that down. And once I get really close, and then try to do a fitment, I'll use a tube and a hand file to get that last bit done up. It's not tube notching, it's not a tube notcher, but for my purposes, it's a lot cheaper and it does the job really well. So that's what it looks like. It's, you know what, again, it's not a tube notcher that I'm using, but it's a hand file, a grinder, template. Anyway, I still got a small gap, but let's not get carried away. Look at the size of the tube. Thickness, wall thickness. It's just for a door, and I'm gonna give it a half decent weld on it. So for somebody who's not using a tube notcher, I think that's pretty good. That's why they call us craftsmen. Here we go, folks. The last piece of the tubing, which is gonna go like this and like that. So a bit of grinding is making this piece fit almost like a glove. I'm really happy. So now to tack it in, and then I need some not winges, but some hinges. And I'm gonna need some gas because I'm gonna run out. So yeah, I might as well get you guys to watch me tack this in, I guess. For those that want to complain, say that I'm a little unsafe using El Cheapo gloves with holes in them, have your fill. I'm just tacking this piece on. So here we go. One. Two. And that's it. That's solid enough so I can burn it properly in. Prep the metal first because I need to grind all the rust out, make it nice and smooth, and then do a test fit, of course, once I get my dopey hinges in, and then we'll go from there. Hey, welcome back. I'm working on the razor doors. I have absolutely no idea where you guys are left off, but this is where I'm at. So I'm going to tack on my top, my bottom. Okay, that ain't going nowhere. And that's not going anywhere either. Should be able to put this one on now. Line it up. This is my gauge for so that they're equal on both sides. That should be tacked. That should be good.
where it's at. So this will go like so right there. So what I'll do is I'll take this, put it on that. Grab my helmet, my gloves, turn the welding machine back on. Then the next time you'll see this, it'll be fully welded. I'll do the latch too first. This should be good. There we go. Okay, folks, final assembly. All the parts are painted. Now it's time to put it all back together. I'll take this bolt out, push this in there, line up the frame a bit again, push it in, get that one nut going, get the impact driver. That should be good enough for now. Tighten it up once I get it all lined up. Yeah, it's a bit tight. I'll leave it like that for now. Okay, I'm gonna put some never sees on my pins, just a tad. Not much needed. Here we go. Let me bring this over. Put my 2 copper washers, bushings, and so, like so. And I'll line up the pin on the frame. And it's installed. Time to put this bad boy in. I'm going to put some Loctite. That way I know it won't come apart. Need to adjust this a bit. That's why I need this again. That's better. Final torque. There we go. Look at that, folks. One suicide custom built. Oh. Razor door. I love it, I love it, I love it.